Alright, we are going to finish tearing down this SSR125, and I've pulled a couple things off here just to make it a little bit quicker, but we've got four on this clutch here. We've got the clutch cover pulled. On this clutch assembly here, we've got this plate here that's got 4 Phillips screws. You want to use an impact driver, or if you can find something to wedge in there to hold these clutches from spinning, you can use a screwdriver. I like to tap on them to get them out, to turn them regular threads. So pull this cover off here. We've got a spanner nut in behind there. And this can be a bit of a challenge if this is spinning. What I like to do is make a little mark here, make sure that I know that I'm spinning. It's a regular threaded nut, so you can take a chisel if you're going to go ahead and replace that. Some parts anyways, you can go ahead and just order another nut too, so you can go ahead and just tap on it. And it's regular threads, like I said, so it's just going to spin the regular way off. But I like to make a mark on there just so I know I'm turning, make sure I'm making progress. Then there's a gasket in here, or a washer in here that says which way that's supposed to go in. Once you get this nut off there, that clutch pack will just pull right out of there. And then this sits down in there like that. And that's your clutch assembly. You've got your friction and your steel plates in there. That'll need replaced ever so often. So got a gear in behind there. We've got a gear here that you'll need a snap ring pliers to pull off. We'll go ahead and pull that. And then we've got your Kickstarter mechanism behind there, and I'll show you how to remove that as well. So this one here, go ahead and remove this snap ring. There's that, and then this tire gear will just slide off that shaft there. You've got your shift shaft going through right here. That's all spring loaded, so we'll be careful when removing that. The shift drum here. Now when I remove these, I like to spin it all the way till it stops. Then take an impact driver, turn it off. Now if you don't have an impact driver, you can use a screwdriver, and I still like to put pressure on it, turning it the way that it needs to go. And then just take a small hammer and just tap on it a little bit. It kind of breaks that first turn. Now on the Kickstarter gear, a lot of times what you've got to do is turn this Kickstarter gear to get it past the arm, the stop arm. So sometimes if it's got too heavy of a spring on there, we can grab pliers, but you want to make sure they're good pliers, make sure they've got good teeth on them so you don't ruin these splines. You also don't want to do it here where it needs a seal. So if you've got good channel locks like this, you can spin it about a quarter turn back and then just kind of lift up. And again, it's spring loaded, and if you feel it slipping at all, or you feel like you're losing strength in your arm, you can set it back down there. And then this, you just kind of walk off. And a lot of these, this one might be a little bit different, but a lot of these will just, since it is spring loaded, it just takes a little bit of pressure to come off there. This one's not wanting to come. I'm not totally sure how these SSR motors come apart here, but I've got I can see a snap ring down there. I'm going to pull that for now, and maybe this shaft goes all the way through. It'd be unlikely, but it's possible. So pull that snap ring there, and just kind of lift this off if possible. Not wanting to damage any kind of, it does come off there like that. So this gear must go all the way, that shaft must go all the way in. So pull that circlip that goes on this shaft here, this snap ring, and then that'll come off. We'll get to the rest of that when we split that case. We've got our oil pump here, and again, using the impact driver, go ahead and disassemble that. Just the 3 larger of the screws is more than likely all that will need to come off. The other Phillips are just kind of holding that oil pump together. So we've got a plastic gear in behind there, so be careful you don't put pressure on that plastic gear. Pull that off, there's your oil pump there. Again, plastic gear here. Things will need lined up with that. There's a clip that runs through there on that plastic gear. So we'll pull this star off of here. This is the shift mechanism here. Well, again, this is spring loaded, so kind of be careful how this comes off. We might pull these other parts here first. Make it a little bit easier. Got a number 5 Allen to loosen here. This is spring loaded, so there'll be some pressure on here. Go ahead and lift that above that star there, take that pressure off, and we're able to just spin that a little more freely. We've got that shift mechanism there. This will take a lift above there, and this will just be able to slide out. There's your shift shaft. There's where your gear shifter goes on the left-hand side of the motorcycle. All right, we are ready to flip that over now and pull those crankcase bolts. We've got 8 millimeters kind of all the way around there. Got this motor upside down here. There's your countershaft sprocket. There's where that goes on. Looks like 7 8-millimeter bolts. To pull that off, now you can grab a rubber mallet and we can we'll break this case free. Sometimes there's not much to them. What I like to do sometimes just take and put a little pressure between the two cases. Not tapping hard enough to damage anything. But you can see there, just putting a little bit of pressure and tapping on it a little bit breaks that seal. Obviously not wanting to hit too hard, but it doesn't take much either. So we didn't even need to get a rubber mallet yet anyways to pull this crankcase apart. Then if you've got to put something in there to pry, make sure it's big enough, make sure you don't turn it in there. It's not really good to put stuff in between there, but if you don't want to hit it with a hammer or grab that mallet here, tap on that crankshaft, that output gear here, and do the same over here. Most of the time, if you've got a rubber mallet or a plastic mallet, you won't damage those gears at all. Now there's your transmission, your crankshaft, that's the internals. I try to keep all this stuff together. This is the Kickstarter mechanism here. There's your shift star. We pulled that bolt out there. This runs all the way here. Sometimes it's easier to pull these all out at once if you can. So I'll take with the rubber mallet. There's your Kickstarter gear. finish knocking that crank out. There comes the crank. Now that case is free and clear. We just have the countershaft sprocket, or countershaft, going through there, as well as the shift mechanism. There's your crankcase breather hose there I just pulled off. Sometimes these kind of bind because of one side is sticking, the other side's not. Occasionally you have to pull them off piece by piece, but it looks like the shift drum is what's not coming here. We've got a rubber cap on this. Okay, so that's what we have going on here. You've got this rubber cap right above your countershaft sprocket here, and you take a flat screwdriver, put it in there and pry on it. We've got a Allen in there, and that's what would be holding us up. If we continue to beat on that, we'd just break some parts. So it wasn't coming, so we flipped the case over and did a little bit of research. So we've got a bolt holding that in there, holding that on the crankcase, and now everything's just going to come out. I'm going to set these gears back down on there now, that way we don't forget where they are. Now that countershaft sprocket is, or that countershaft gear is held up, but there we go, those are out. So it looks like the bearing was maybe holding us up. But there's your shift drum here, and then there's your main shaft. So that's your transmission there. And that is a crankcase split on a SSR125.